If you are not discussing the law in this R. Kelly case, you are breaking the law. This is a legal matter, and everyone discussing this should be following the law. Adhere to the law and stick to the law, and let the law decide where this goes. Under the First Amendment, every American has the right to free speech. You have the right to attend any concert. You have the right to listen to any music. In the Mute R. Kelly campaign, as a result of a fraudulent television show, Surviving R. Kelly, Dream Hampton, Me Too, Time's Up, all conspired to deny every American that is a fan of R. Kelly their due process, their First Amendment right to listen to his music, to attend his concert, to stand by his side. If anyone defended him, they were labeled a pedophile sympathizer, an enabler. That is to deny millions of people their First Amendment right. The Fourth Amendment states every person has a right to secure their persons, their home, their effects, their property. No one has a right to unreasonable seizures or searches, and this shall not be violated without a warrant. Every person has a right to protect what they own, their job, their personal effects, their property, their intellectual property. The Fifth Amendment states, no person shall be held to answer for an infamous crime unless indicted by a grand jury. No person shall be the subject of the same offense twice, and no person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. The Sixth Amendment states, every person has the right to a speedy and public trial by an impartial jury, a jury who has not been swayed, a jury who has not been previously influenced. And they have a right to be informed the nature and the cause of the accusation. That is everyone's Sixth Amendment right. The Seventh Amendment states, every person in the United States that is a citizen has a right to a fair trial by jury. That right shall be preserved. No fact shall be tried by a jury other than in a court of the United States. The Eighth Amendment says, no person shall have excessive fines imposed, nor cruel and unusual punishments inflicted. When Robert Kelly was brutally, savagely destroyed in the court of public opinion without any evidence, this was a violation of his Eighth Amendment right. It was cruel and unusual punishment because no one had a case in court. No one had adjudication by a judge that said a crime had been committed. No one had even gone to the police. It was a violation of the Eighth Amendment rights of R. Kelly and of all his fans. The Ninth Amendment says your rights are retained. That means every right in the Constitution is afforded to every American. Every amendment, every law, every right is retained by every person of this country. Any violation of that is a violation of your Ninth Amendment right. The 14th Amendment says all persons are provided equal protection under the law. Nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, property without due process of law. To deny any persons within this jurisdiction the equal protection of the law is a violation of the 14th Amendment. Fraud is the wrongful or criminal deception intended to result in financial or personal gain. In law, fraud is intentional deception to secure unfair or unlawful gain, or to deprive a victim of a legal right. Fraud can violate civil or criminal law. It may cause no loss of money or property or legal right, but still be an element of another civil or criminal wrong. The purpose of fraud may be monetary gain or other benefits. Due process is a requirement that legal matters be resolved according to the established rules and principles. Due process simply means the law must be followed. Your rights must be protected. Under procedural due process, you have the fairness of the procedures used to enforce the laws. Under substantive due process, you have fairness within the laws themselves. That means the laws to enforce the law and the laws themselves must be protected for the individual. There are two types of due process. The first is procedural due process, which is based on principles of fundamental fairness, which addresses the legal procedures that are required to be followed at the state and federal level. Substantive due process is principle allowing courts to protect certain fundamental rights from government interference, even if procedural protections are present or the rights are not specifically mentioned elsewhere in the U.S. Constitution. Within the due process law, you have entrapment, you have prosecutorial misconduct, you have the need to have proof, the burden of proof, and presumptions, like the presumption of innocence. You also have clarity in criminal statutes and void for vagueness. And the steps within the due process are investigation, charging, initial hearing and arraignment, discovery, plea bargaining, preliminary hearing, pretrial motions, and trial. All of these steps and more are a part of the due process rights.
At the heart of the 14th Amendment is the definition of citizens in America. It is through this definition that all the rights we cherish are granted and defended.
The right to have rights.
And under the law, everyone in America gets equal protection.
Was made for you and me.
My fellow Americans, this is a problem which faces us all.
We talk about equality a lot in America. We talk about justice. The 14th Amendment was intended to make that vision real.
The 14th Amendment is a promise of equality for all. No state shall make or enforce any law
which shall abridge the privileges or immunities
of the citizens of the United States.
It says we are all deserving of empathy and dignity.
I'm scared, but I'm gonna stay. 'Cause I'm tired of running.
Nor shall any state deprive any person of life,
liberty, or property,
nor deny any person within its jurisdiction
the equal protection of the law.
I'm just gonna wait.
The founders wrote life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. They made that promise.
This fight is for a more perfect union.
When the second founders wrote the 14th Amendment, they put the word equal into the Constitution, another promise.
This is why we're here. To tell America's story. The story of the 14th Amendment.
I'm gonna be sad.